Amazon founder and billionaire Jeff Bezos successfully rocketed up more than 65 miles on Tuesday and declared that the event had made for his best day ever. But even though it might have been a life-changing event for the billionaire, the internet community isn't fazed by his achievement. And even though Jeff Bezos went to space, here's what people are paying more attention to. But before we continue, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon notifications. Let's begin. Firstly, the jokes on Twitter. If you frequent Twitter and like to take part in the everyday trolling that goes on there, you've probably seen the barrage of tweets against Bezos' trip to space. People have really spoken up against the billionaire's decision to spend millions of dollars for exactly 11 minutes in space. But even though some people are angry, others are just seeing this as an opportunity to educate the world about the dangers of climate change and unsustainable decisions taken by the rich for their personal gains. People have pointed out that Bezos' 11 minutes in space have cost the world a lot of resources. And just because Bezos can afford to splurge, it doesn't mean that the Earth's climate won't be affected by his decisions. People have also critiqued the recent billionaire's dream of colonizing space and making a home for humans there. It might seem like a great idea at first, but it's also important to know that this might take us hundreds of years to achieve. Not just because it's going to require a lot of money, but also because humans haven't fully understood the conditions of space yet. We do not know if life there can be sustainable or whether the environment will be safe for humans to thrive. But billionaires like Musk and Bezos are obsessed with the idea of colonizing planets like Mars so that humans can live there in the future. Netizens and scientists alike have pointed out that encouraging this colonization can be dangerous because it takes the focus away from protecting and preserving the Earth from the rapid climate change damaging it. People raised all these points on Twitter and joked about Bezos' priorities. Some people also highlighted how Bezos has spent more time in space than Amazon employees are allowed to spend in the bathroom all year. You might already be aware of this, but Amazon employees have the worst hourly wages and are required to work non-stop during working hours. Many of them are forced to stay overtime and don't get even proper bathroom breaks. Bezos has been questioned about his treatment of Amazon employees, and he's never really addressed the issue seriously. So it's a little ironic how he can spend millions of dollars for a couple of minutes in space and his employees don't even earn livable wages. A Twitter user also mentioned how flying in space might be cool, but also questioned whether Bezos ever paid income tax. This isn't just a funny tweet either because it highlights how problematic tax policies in the United States allows for rich people to avoid paying taxes and lets them save money for themselves instead. Some online users have suggested exacting a re-entry tax on Bezos, who, like others in the billionaire class, has repeatedly avoided paying any federal income taxes. And since he hasn't paid any income tax, Bezos was able to fulfill his childhood fantasy of floating weightless in space. But this is also thanks to the fortune he accumulated on the backs of low-waged, overworked, and notoriously surveilled Amazon workers. I hope these workers get their rights too. And now that Bezos has shown how much money he has to spend on his leisure, people will expect him to take some money out for his own employees too. What they said in space. You might not be aware of this, but on July 20th, 1969, astronaut Neil Armstrong uttered his famous line on the moon, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." And 52 years later to the day, Jeff Bezos or his brother asked as their crew hit zero gravity, "Who wants a Skittle?" That's right, he really asked people if they wanted Skittles as they were being blasted off in a phallic-shaped rocket into outer space. No wonder the internet is bursting with memes right now. People can hardly focus on Bezos' trip because of the funny things he did along the way. Their team blasted off from the desert near Van Horn, Texas, and entered space aboard New Shepard, the launch vehicle created by Bezos' company Blue Origin. As you might already know, the flight of just over 10 minutes made Amazon founder Bezos the second billionaire to enter space, with the flight also carrying Bezos' brother Mark, 82-year-old female aviation pioneer Wally Funk, and Oliver Damon, the 18-year-old son of a millionaire. It really looks like space is just for the rich. There are funny recordings of the crew's reactions when they entered space and when they were coming back to Earth. An elated crew could be heard whooping with delight in the background throughout the flight. Several cries of woo and woohoo could be heard as they passed the "Carm On" line. If you don't already know, this line is considered to be the edge of space. And once they hit zero gravity, one of the Bezos brothers can be heard asking the crew members if they want a Skittle. This might seem like a funny interaction, but now we know that Skittles made it to space with Bezos. And after several seconds passed, the entire capsule erupted in celebratory cheers. One of the most expressive passengers aboard was 82-year-old Funk. "Oh, Jeff, look at those. It's dark up here," she said during the flight. Likely looking out the window at Earth below, she said, "Oh my word, look at the world. There's a very happy group of people on this capsule," Bezos told ground control, following up with a status update, "Happy, happy, happy." "Well, that was intense," one of the Bezos brothers said on the way down. The conversations Bezos had with his crew members will go down in history since people don't usually talk in space. But the internet community is definitely going to have a field day making fun of Bezos' little conversations in space. The phallic rocket ship. Another thing that caught people's attention was the shape of the rocket Bezos was traveling in. And as hard as you try, it's impossible to deny the overly phallic shape of Bezos' spaceship. People all over the world are now wondering how and why the top-tier engineers didn't seem to notice the ridiculous shape of the rocket. And as expected, jokes about the phallus-shaped rocket have been flooding social media in the past few days in the form of memes. And people are really taking a hit at the controversial entrepreneur and his civilian flight. Since Bezos is the second billionaire to travel to space, there's one more man who got there before him. This was his rival, billionaire Richard Branson. Branson's Virgin Galactic spaceflight, which launched successfully on July 11th, was full of stereotypically feminine symbols. You might find this hard to believe, but he named his spaceship Virgin. Branson and his crew also boarded a relatively small spacecraft. This spacecraft was tucked in the belly of a mothership that sailed smoothly to the edge of space. The whole idea was to have a feminine theme that represented peace, tranquility, and progress. Bezos, on the other hand, blazed to space aboard a 60-foot tall phallus adorned with a giant feather as a symbol of the perfection of flight, according to the Blue Origin website. And even though some people congratulated his successful launch, they also mentioned how the ridiculous rocket shape looked like Bezos was compensating for something else. People felt that the rocket's shape revealed Bezos' harsh, hyper-masculine tendencies and how he wanted to bring about an era of hyper-competitive space travel. Another Twitter user made fun of Bezos' new Shepard and called it the world's first circumcised rocket, but it looks like Bezos isn't going to be fazed by all of these comments, especially after the life-changing trip he's just been a part of. The Austin Powers joke. People have even made popular culture references about Bezos' trip to space. On social media, viewers drew swift comparisons between the live-streamed launch and the second installment of the Austin Powers film franchise, in which the hero's nemesis Dr. Evil flees Earth in an anatomically suggestive spacecraft. Citizens online felt that it was impossible to ignore Bezos' resemblance to Mike Myers as Dr. Evil in the Austin Powers film series. Some people even highlighted how Dr. Evil and Bezos had the same goal: to establish themselves in space. This unfortunate but hilarious likeness has become even more vivid after Bezos' rumored Botox injections, which gave him a puffed face. Combine these two elements and you'll get the irresistible parody of a Dr. Evil lookalike riding a very phallic space rocket. Meanwhile, tens of thousands back on Earth have signed an online petition calling to ban Bezos from returning to our blue planet. It's too late for that now because Bezos and his crew landed safely on Earth after an 11-minute suborbital ride. And of course, we wish them all well. But it's clear that people do not care much for Bezos' achievement. Instead, they think this whole trip was useless and also really funny. Who knows? Maybe Bezos agrees too. And with that, it wraps up the video. Thanks for watching.